There's no ambiguity about Texas. It's an ideal place for anyone suffering short-term memory loss. Every 5 minutes someone tells you that you're in Texas. And that Texans are friendly. But don't mess with them. After about 200 repetitions, I got the message. If you are tucking into vast mounds of meat, watching pickups crawl by blaring country music, sipping a beer and your fellow patrons are men in Stetsons and Cowboys jerseys, you are pretty confident that you are in Texas. Every Sunday afternoon the town of Green, just north of San Antonio, is flooded with locals, and a few out-of-towners doing their best to fit in. It was founded by German immigrants who clung to their beer but ditched their language. My wife Edwina and I strolled down the main street, stopping here and there in junk shops and general stores with jars of candy in the window and leather ammo belts hanging on the door. Read more. *. This U.S. train journey beats flying. Los Angeles to New Orleans. *. Texas road trip. A huge place with huge personality. *. Texas, USA. Just you, the sun, sand and cacti. A perfect winter sunset is scurrying into dusty courtyards where tiresomely good-looking and talented young men played their guitars, singing mostly of women and the Texan spirit of adventure. Austin, the Texas state capital, likes to sell itself as the live music capital of the world. We went on to a dance hall, a wooden structure with open sides and ceiling fans working furiously to move the hot air around. A band played country music while the community danced, and drank and danced some more. An 80-year-old woman, Betty Jo, danced for an hour straight. It was her birthday, and she earned a heartfelt round of happy birthday when the band launched into it. My wife and I were on a trip away from the children. Every year we'd take a mini break out for an adventure. Destination selection is always a challenge, but San Antonio seemed to have everything: a world-class battlefield, a lively restaurant and bar scene, interesting criminal justice innovation for my penal reform-obsessed beloved, a hinterland of towns peopled by swaggering, pickup driving cowboys, and a pleasant winter climate. It was also a swing district in the U.S. midterms in which Republicans and Democrats were fighting to capture a constituency that stretched along the border with Mexico for an extraordinary distance, equivalent to almost the entire length of Britain. San Antonio delivered. We just wished we'd had longer to explore more of Texas. The band reached a frenzied climax. The fiddler stamped the wooden planks beneath his feet so hard I was terrified he'd go through the floor. The charismatic vocalist bade us all a wonderful afternoon, and we staggered out, ready for our first experience with Texan barbecue. We walked down to the river beneath a canopy of tall trees to the legendary gristmill, in a semi-derelict old sawmill in which you can eat beside the burbling stream. Sienna, the waitress, was from several hours west of the San Antonio area and had traveled here to escape the crushing conservatism of her community. As she chatted, she hauled out gigantic platters of meat glazed in sweet brown sauce that rapidly overwhelmed us. We declined the offer of a box to put leftovers in. Even the idea of waking up to a mound of yesterday's meat the following morning was deeply traumatic. San Antonio's River Walk. We slumped in a cab and glided along the freeway back into San Antonio while the driver explained that his wife and his daughter were no longer talking over the latter's opposition to Trump. His daughter went to college a Republican and came out a Democrat. Now she works for the party. She sent her dad a picture of her meeting Barack Obama, and his wife refuses to display it. He put it in his own little snug next to his TV. San Antonio, combined with Austin, a couple of hours north, constitutes a liberal nexus often at odds with the broadly conservative character of the rest of Texas. I walked along the river that snakes through the city, and was overtaken by juice-quaffing creative types and yoga pants and hipsters on scooters. The highlight on my trip was the Alamo. It is a walking city with the river at its heart. Industrial buildings have been regenerated, breweries or hotels, smokestacks beautified with murals. Installation art pops out from every turn. Restaurant chains are nowhere to be seen as independent vendors offer up falafels, sushi, quinoa and vegan fare. The highlight on my trip was the Alamo. I explored the battlefield at dawn, with the wonderful Texas historian W.F. Strong, square-jawed, steely-eyed with a ramrod straight back, a deep pride in the Lone Star State. I asked him what his first name was and he replied, "Call me WF, it's a Texan thing." He wove story and myth together and explained why the Alamo was hallowed ground. We stood where supporters of Jim Bowie, the ultimate frontiersman, claim that he went down fighting like a wildcat. In the faintest of whispers, WF confided that some say Bowie surrendered. Our eyes met and we silently agreed never to mention it again. We ate afterwards in the magnificent 19th-century Menger Hotel next door to the fort, where Teddy Roosevelt once raised a unit of Rough Riders, a new generation of American heroes to take the fight to the nation's enemies. As we ate grits beneath chandeliers and ornate balconies, WF told me how Oscar Wilde had once stayed here and lectured on interior design. He later complained that Texans could not sit still during the talk, and kept heading to the bar to refill their beer glasses. Speaking of recharging glasses, Edwina and I had an appointment with a couple of the many bars, thrilled at the prospect of a sleep undisturbed by rogue children. We drank lurid cocktails in pickle jars sitting inside a giant copper still. We chatted to the super-liberal, diverse, cosmopolitan, Trump-hating clientele. Just a few miles away, the other America cheered their president on. San Antonio and its surroundings are the U.S. in microcosm. Two nations that think, look and act differently. The privilege of the traveler is to switch between the two. Dan Snow is a television presenter and historian. His new book On This Day in History, published by Hodder. Art, food, music? Choose your Texan city. Best for music. Austin. The Texas state capital, AustinTexas.org, likes to sell itself as the live music capital of the world. While this is quite a boast, there is no doubt that Austin knows how to put on a noisy show. Venues range from the Grand Paramount Theater, AustinTheater.org, which has held its poise on Congress Avenue since 1915, to the busy Cactus Cafe, CactusCafe.org, for new bands. Then there is South by Southwest, SXSW.com, above, the annual extravaganza of music, theater and comedy that takes over the city every spring, and will do so again this March 8 to 17. Best for Texas tradition. Fort Worth. There is a distinct cowboy culture to Fort Worth, FortWorth.com, not least in its stockyards, FortWorthStockyards.org, the 98-acre complex which operated as a livestock market in the 19th and 20th centuries and is now revitalized as a nest of shops, restaurants, and hotels. The West also sings in the National Multicultural Western Heritage Museum, CowboysOfColor.org, and in the National Cowgirl Museum and Hall of Fame, Cowgirl.net, where a macho side of the United States acquires a female perspective. Best for history. San Antonio. The city, visit sanantonio.com, occupies an emotive groove in the soul of the U.S. The Alamo, thealamo.org, was the site of the much-saluted 1836 battle between Mexican troops and would-be independent Texans. San Antonio Missions National Historic Park, nps.gov/san closing parenthesis also charts the entwined heritage of Texas and the nation next door, in the form of 4 missions built by Spanish settlers. Best for art. Houston. The biggest city in Texas, and the 4th biggest in the U.S. as a whole. Houston, visit HoustonTexas.com, swaps its colossal scale for subtle brush strokes in its intriguing art museums. Its Museum of Fine Arts, MFAH.org, offers greats from Canaletto to Renoir, while the Contemporary Arts Museum, CAMH.org, keeps things modern, with touring exhibitions of work by 20th and 21st century visionaries. The BlafferArtMuseum.org, has a similar of-the-moment identity, presenting around 8 shows a year of installations, sculpture and photography. Best for food. Dallas. Each of Texas's major urban hubs would declare itself the state's king of the kitchen, but Dallas. Visit Dallas.com can support the claim through sheer number of restaurants. West. Lover's Lane in Bluffview is home to chic affairs such as Jose.mx, where daring Tex-Mex dishes are served by fated chef Anastasia Quinones. McKinney Avenue in Uptown is similarly alive with gourmet options, such as Namasushi.com. And you could eat forever on the Beltline Road in North Dallas, where every imaginable cuisine is cooked. Sunday Telegraph.